Welcome to the ordinary council meeting held in the council chambers on Wednesday the 28th of October 2020 at 2:30 p.m. Consistent with section 747A of the Local Government Act 1993 and current public health order, this meeting of Liverpool Plain Shire Council is being live streamed to council's website. A webcast of this meeting will be published to council's website at lpsc.newsouthwales.gov.au so that it is available for viewing by members of the public. I would ask Councillor Black to recite the council prayer and the acknowledgement company.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today we gather on the land of the Kamilaroi Nation. We therefore need to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of this land. We also pay our respects to the Aboriginal elders, both past and present, and further extend that respect to other adults who have joined us today. Council prayer. Lord, we ask that you watch over this council, guide us in our deliberations and decisions for the betterment of all people of our Shire and Australia. Amen. Amen.
Thanks, Councillor Black. Apologies and application for leave of absence by councillors. Neil? I'd just like to note that Councillor Cudmore is joining us by Skype, but present. Confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. We have an amendment to the papers. Councillor Moles, at the minutes of the council meeting held on the 30th of September 2020 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted with the following amendment. Leave of absence, Councillor Moles. It is noted that Councillor Paul Moles submitted a leave of absence for the ordinary meeting of council held on the 30th of September 2020. Mayoral minute? Oh, sorry.
I'll move this. Yes.
Move Councillor Loxey. Seconder, Councillor Webster. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Carried. Mayoral minute. Do I have a mover for that mayoral minute?
Yep.
Councillor Webster. Seconder.
Yes, Councillor Cudmore.
Councillor Cudmore. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.1, or item 6, inward correspondence and petitions. Are they listed? There being none.
I'll move the correspondence and petitions, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Moles, Councillor Webster. Those in favour?
Yeah.
Those against? Carried. 7.1, executive area reports. All works. Got a mover? Councillor Moles, seconded Councillor Loxey. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.2. No? Investments, 7.2, investments for September 2020. Can I have a mover for those?
Happy to move, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Moles, seconder. Councillor Black. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. 7.3, authorisation for signing of the draft financial statements for the year ended 30th of June 2020.
Councillor Cudmore, Mayor, do we have to read the recommendations or not really? Should we read the recommendations for the public or not?
Yes?
Before we vote on it?
Yes, okay. Authorise the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and General Manager and Responsible Accounting Officer to sign the statements by councillors and management as required for the draft financial statements for the year ended 30th of June 2020, contained in Annexure A and Annexure B. Notes that the draft Liverpool Plains Shire Council financial statements for the year ended 30th of June 2020 will be referred to Council's Auditor, New South Wales Audit Office, in accordance with Section 413-1 of the Local Government Act 1993. Moved Councillor Black, seconded Councillor Lobsey. Those in favour? Those against? Carried.
Mr Mayor, could I just get a point of order, please?
Yes.
When we're moving and seconding, we're not getting the opportunity to speak to anything, it's just being put to the vote.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so that one's done. We go to 7.4. Okay, item 7.4, appointment of committee members and delegates. Recommendation is to discontinue the service delivery review group and repeal the terms of reference adopted 28th of June 2017, discontinue the project control working recreation group and repeal the terms of reference adopted 26th of September 2018, appoint the following councillors as delegates and alternate delegates to the following committees of council for the remainder of the current term of council. First off, we have the Audit and Risk and Improvement Committee with Councillor Webster and Councillor Black as an alternate. Do we have a mover for that? Or do you accept that, Councillor Webster?
Yes, I do, Mr Mayor. Sorry, it's the two committee people. Councillor Black isn't the alternate. She's also a committee person.
My apologies. Councillor Black, you accept that?
Yes, I do.
So we don't need a vote on that? Yes. Okay. So have I got a mover for that?
Yeah, I'll move the motion.
Moved Councillor Cudmore, seconded Councillor Moles. Those in favour? Those against? Do you wish to speak to that, Councillor Cudmore?
No, thank you.
Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Moles?
No, Mr Mayor, just again, a point of order that we speak to it before we actually put it to the vote. We've just put it to the vote and then we're asking to speak to it, so it's just the other way around, Mr Mayor. I appreciate it's a difficult process. Thank you.
Next item is the Community Advisory Group. We have the Mayor and Councillor Cudmore, the Deputy Mayor, and we have Councillor Lobsey, and we're looking for a second delegate for that. Is there anyone else that wants to go on that committee? Any other nominees for that committee?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Webster.
Councillor Webster, are you happy with that?
Yeah, that'll be fine, yeah.
Before I put the motion, does any councillors want to speak on that? I'll put the motion.
Sorry, Mayor. So who are the candidates?
The candidates are the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Lobsey and Councillor Webster.
So that's all we need. Yep. No, thank you.
I'll have a mover for that.
Yeah, I think we did move it, Mr Mayor.
It's all moved now. Okay, so those in favour? Those against? Carried. The Cultural and Events Advisory Group, the Mayor, Councillor Lobsey, and we need one more. Is there a nomination for the extra seat on that?
I'll go on.
Councillor Webster?
Yeah.
Before I put the motion, is there anyone which wishes to speak on that? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Local Traffic Committee, we have no nominations. Councillor Webster, is there a second nomination?
Mr Mayor, only require the one, well, that's all that's
By the
been
ones,
passed.
okay. Before I put the motion, is there anyone wish to speak on that? If no one wishes to speak, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. The PED, or Planning and Economic Development Committee, we currently have the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, and we have Councillor Webster and Councillor Logsey, and we only require one, the alternate, so that's okay to run with that. So before I put that motion, is everyone happy with that?
No. Through the minute.
Yep.
Councillor Cudmore here, I think, didn't we in previous years decided that councillors wanted to go on those committees? It wasn't, we didn't sort of just, make sure the number was, if more than one councillor wanted to go on it beside the mayor and deputy mayor, they could. So, I'm not quite sure what the understanding is with the other councillors, but I'm quite happy for a number of councillors to go on if they wanted to. I think this is a fairly important committee, I think.
My understanding of that, Councillor Cudmore, is that the nominated people are there, but any councillor that wishes to attend may attend, and it would be set out on the calendar. No?
Oh, true.
Yeah. All good?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, before I put the motion, has everyone any questions on that? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Planning and Economic Development Subcommittee, Business Advisory Group. Councillor Webster and Councillor Logsey. Oh, there's only one. So we need to have a show of hands as to who goes on that committee. We have two
Mr
nominations.
Mayor, I'm happy to withdraw my nomination.
Okay. Would you like to be the alternate on that, Councillor Webster?
That's fine, thank you.
So before I put the motion, is everyone happy with that? If not, those in favour? Those against? Carried. The next one is the Summerhill Lodge. At this point, there's the Mayor, Councillor Black, Councillor Logsey and Councillor Webster. We need a vote on that. We only need the three, I believe, and there's four. Two? We need three? Yes. Okay, so the four on that's fine. Okay, so on that committee, who is the delegate and who's the alternate? Two delegates. Okay, so who's put their name forward?
Mr Mayor, I'm happy to withdraw from that committee.
So you would be happy with alternate?
Yes.
So Councillor Black would be the delegate, Councillor Logsey the alternate delegate, and Councillor Webster. Is that correct? Okay, so the representative would be Councillor Black and Councillor Logsey. Before I put the motion, does anyone want to speak to that? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. The Australian Railway Monument Management Committee. At this stage, we have Councillor Logsey, and we need an alternate. Is there anyone happy to go on that as an alternate?
I'm happy to go as an alternate if Councillor Moulsey can't attend. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Moles. Before I put that, is everyone happy with that? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. The next one is the Central Northern Regional Library Committee. At this point, the delegate, we have Paul Moles, Councillor Moles, and we need an alternate delegate. Is there anyone happy to go on that as an alternate?
It's a fun time, councillors, please put your hands up. Nobody.
Well, that's okay. I might go on as an alternate. Okay, well, look, if no one else wants to take up the position, I'll go on as the alternate delegate. Before I put the motion, has anyone got any questions on that? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. The next one is the Mid-North Weight and Loads, and at this stage we have Councillor Cudmore. Do we only need one on that or two? We need an alternate. Is there anyone who wants to go on that as an alternate? Again, if there's no one, I'm happy to go on that as the alternate. Happy with that?
Through the mayor, I don't meet that often, so anyway, I can sort that out.
We just need to have our names down, I think. Okay, before I put the motion, does anyone have any questions on that? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Nemoi Unlimited will be the mayor and the deputy mayor. I don't think that doesn't require it. Okay. Okay, does anyone have a question on
Excuse
that?
me, Mr Mayor, I think there's a mistake there. That's the Namoi Regional Air Quality Advisory Committee, not the Namoi Unlimited.
No, that's the next one. Councillor.
Okay, well, the last one I got was Mid-North Weights and Loads Groups, and then mine
The
says
first
the
one,
Namoi Regional Air Quality. So.
Nemoi Regional Air Quality is the next one. This one is the Nemoi Unlimited, which is the mayor and deputy.
Well, I don't have that here, so.
Yeah, move, Mr Mayor.
Okay, so that's moved by Councillor Webster, a seconder.
Second.
Second, Councillor Black. Before I put the motion, does anyone want to speak to it? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. The next one is the Namoi Regional Air Quality Advisory. At this stage, we don't have any delegates. We need two, a delegate and an alternate.
I'm happy to take that.
Happy? Councillor Black is the delegate. We have an alternate delegate. Is there an alternate delegate there? If there isn't, again, I will put my name down as the alternate delegate. Before I put the motion, has there anyone got any questions on that? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Northwest Regional Weed Committee. We need a delegate, an alternate delegate.
Mr Mayor, I was on that last year and I don't think there was a meeting, so I'm happy to put my name to go down if there's a meeting called.
Okay, so Councillor Webster. Do we have an alternate delegate?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Cudmore, as he can know more about weeds than most of us in this room, I would believe.
You happy with that, Councillor Cudmore? He's big noting you, but
I'm sure that's a
Thanks,
criticism.
Councillor Moles. Yeah, no, I'm happy to.
Councillor Cudmore?
Alternative.
Okay, well, is there anyone got any questions on that? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Watermark Coal Community Consultative Committee. At this point, we have Councillor Black, Councillor Cudmore as the delegates. Only one, and two alternatives, is that? No? Okay, so we've got Councillor, beg your pardon? Right, and we need to narrow that down to two. One. Okay, so, are we happy with a show of hands?
What are we doing, Mr Mayor?
Well, you're deciding out of three candidates for the Watermark Coal Community Consultative Committee, of which we have Councillor Black, Councillor Cudmore and Councillor Lobsey.
And we need to bring that back to one.
Yes.
And an alternate.
Could I say, Mr Mayor, that I was on that committee from the time that Mr Liu and the watermark group came to town, so I attended many of those meetings until the last term.
So are you happy to, sorry? Okay, right, okay, so far we've had, yep. Councillor Black, did you want to speak to that nomination?
Yeah, just to say that I was actually listed for that the last 4 years, but I did not get to go to any of those meetings at all. And I was really, and still am, very interested in the Watermark Coal Community Committee. And I'd like to be able to go. But it's up to the rest of my fellow councillors if they choose that I should go. Thank you.
Councillor Cudmore?
No, I'm standing for the position, and that's, yeah, if the council want to vote on it, I'm not going to stand down anyway. I sort of missed half the conversation through the audio here, so I'm just not quite sure where you're up to, but.
Okay, well, I'll just start from the top, Councillor Cudmore. The Watermark Coal Community Consultative Committee, we have 3 nominations. We have Councillor Black, Councillor Cudmore and Councillor Lobsey. Each one now has spoken to it, each one is standing. We need to, I guess, from the top down, vote on we need 1 delegate and 1 alternate. So out of those 3, we need 2.
Mr Mayor, just a question, Kevin might have the answer, but are we allowed to have more than 1 delegate to that committee?
I can't hear. In slow motion, Roz.
So only 1 delegate and 1 alternate. We don't have any. We still have to come back to 2. Okay, well, we've got 3 nominations and we need 1 delegate and 1 co-delegate. No? 1 alternate, I'm sorry. Okay, so we'll have to go to
Could I make a respectful suggestion? Mr Mayor, as you're looking for a delegate and an alternative delegate, with no offence to Councillor Cudmore, I'd suggest Councillor Black and Lobsey's, and the reason for that, just for Councillor Cudmore's sake, he is a landowner that is going to be mixed up in controversy with mining, and I think for his own benefit maybe he should not become involved, but of course that is his choice. But I'm just suggesting to make it a little bit easier for council to decide who should and shouldn't be on the committee. Perhaps we could be looking at Councillor Black and Councillor Lobsey. But again, that is Councillor Cudmore's call. But there has been a fair bit of lock the gate stuff and opposition to mining, and I know how a previous councillor was affected by this sort of community split as such. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Cudmore?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Miles. I disagree. I've got a fair understanding on both sides of the fence, so I'm not pro-mining or against mining. So I think my understanding of how it all works should be appreciated by council. So no, I'm quite happy to stand. Thank you.
It's all good.
Okay, so we'll start at the top for the delegate. Councillor Black. Those in favour of Councillor Black? You've got the numbers there. Those against? Okay, that's all right. Councillor Cudmore? Those in favour? You got the numbers? Councillor Lobbsy? You got the numbers there.
One.
Okay, so where do you go from there?
You're last. You didn't vote for me.
Apologies, councillors, we'll have to go again. There's an anomaly there. Councillor Black, those in favour? Numbers, so we've got the numbers. Councillor Cudmore?
You can't vote twice.
Don't you have a delegate and alternate?
Vote.
Okay.
No, we're just voting for the delegate.
Right, I didn't know that.
Councillor Cudmore? 2. 3. Councillor Lobbsy?
Same with that.
So therefore, the delegate, no, I call out the vote. Okay, so Councillor Cudmore with 3 votes, Councillor Black with 2, and Councillor Lobbsy with 1. So therefore, I would declare Councillor Cudmore the delegate and Councillor Black the alternate. Before I put that motion, does anyone want to speak to it? If not, I'll put them. Sorry, Lydia.
I would just hope that my last 12 months on this council won't be like the last 4 years where I was the alternative delegate and never ever got to go to that committee.
Well, you would get an invite at the same time as the delegate. You would be invited to the meeting.
No, no.
Oh, if the delegate's not there, okay.
No.
Okay,
So
well,
the
if-
delegate.
So,
okay.
yeah, so I am prepared
Yeah.
to step down and that will make it easier for everyone else from that role. Thank you.
So you don't want to be the
No, thank
alternate
you.
delegate?
No.
So where do we go now to Councillor Lobbsy? You happy to be the alternate delegate?
Mildly happy. Got my shit through it. I'll get you later.
Okay,
I
so
told him to vote once.
trouble is you want to vote all day, Paul. Anyway, look, moving on. The position we've got is Councillor Black has withdrawn. Councillor Cudmore's been elected as delegate and Councillor Lobbsy as the alternate. Before I put the motion, does anyone else wish to speak? No other speakers? I'll therefore put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? The vote is 3-1. You've recorded that vote. Councillor Black voted against. Okay, so that's carried. The next item is the Werris Creek Coal Community Consultative Committee. We have 2 nominations, Councillor Lobbsy and Councillor Cudmore. The motion for the delegate, who's nominated as, no one's nominated. Who nominated as a delegate? Both nominated as delegates. Okay, so we need to have another vote.
I'll be quite happy to go with the alternate, Mayor, yeah, just for the Lewis Creek mine, if I can go every now and then, it'll be great.
Okay, so
So I was quite happy to stand out for being the delegate, but I'm quite happy to be the alternate to Councillor Locks.
Are you happy to be the delegate, councillor? Okay, so, is there anyone want to speak to that? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Carried. Oh, sorry, those against? Carried. That brings us to the vote, doesn't it?
And Mr Mayor, that's where my Namoi Unlimited comes in, at the end of that piece of paper.
Right,
So there's, papers must have been up there somewhere.
yes. Now, that's not the paper I got, councillor.
It's one on this sheet, that's where it was.
Seven point five, the annual tabling of disclosures of pecuniary interest returns.
Happy to do that.
Before we move and see, does anyone wish to speak to that? No? Okay. I have a mover for that, councillor Loxley. Did you move that? Yes, seconded, councillor Webster. Those in favour? Sorry, I'm getting a bit confused here. Anyone wish to speak to that?
Mr Mayor, just a comment. There's been some changes to the GIPA Act as pecuniary matter. My understanding is that the tabling of these returns have actually got to be on our website.
Through the General Manager, thank you, Councillor. Returns can be published to a council's website unless a council determines that there is an overriding public interest against disclosure on the website.
So we've got to vote.
Thank you, Councillor. No, there's no vote required with respect to that. This decision is simply to note the annual table.
So, sorry, Mr Mayor, can I ask another question? So I'm not sure I understood the answer. So they've been tabled, so they're actually accessible on our website.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, through the General Manager. After the tabling is resolved, this report is then provided to Office of Local Government. The individual returns are then made available to members of the public. Currently, Council's practice is not to publish them to the website, just due to the accessibility issues and maintenance around our website. We are replacing that website and we are undertaking a review of GIPA at the moment and our compliance with GIPA, which will be going to the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee at its November meeting. So the intention would be, Councillor, to make as much information available, including returns available from the website. But current practice, as at today, they are not available. But we are moving in that direction.
Thank you.
We have a move from councillor Loxley and a seconder from councillor Webster. Is there anyone else wish to speak to the motion? For or against? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. 7.6, Combined Delivery Program and Operational Plan, Progress Report as at the 30th of September 2020. I have a mover. Do I have a mover? Councillor Black, sorry. Councillor Webster. Any speakers for or against the motion?
I'd like to speak to the motion, please.
Yes.
I'd like to ask a question through the Mayor to the General Manager in regards to the governance, where we've got year-to-date progress, and we've got here that behind schedule is number 6, and 14.3% behind, and 6 not commenced. So could I get a little bit of information on that, please, that there are 6 that aren't commenced?
one, Councillor Black.
Yeah, just.
Page 25.
So if we go into, thank you for that question, Councillor Black, if we go into the explanatory text as to why some of those projects are behind, there's been a fair lot of work in terms of being able to develop papers and provide the work behind seeking a special rate variation, and that at the moment is taking a lot of time, and the next 2 months we'll see that project back on track. A lot of the issues in here are, I guess, having a look at the staffing levels that we've got in that particular area, and some of the auditors, both internal, external, and the Office of Local Government have, I guess, requested more information and more transparency, and it's a matter for our organisation to really have a look at probably providing more resources in that area.
Okay, thank you for that. And another question in the explanatory notes, which is our health and education services to meet the needs are available in our local community where possible. One of the things that there is no actions program for delivery in 2021, but I'd still like to ask the question in regards to the advocate for a mix of affordable housing and identify opportunities and partnerships with the community, for example, aged care. I guess one of my pets is trying to find affordable housing for people. So is there anything on the perceivable front that where we will get support in regards to affordable housing for persons in our community?
Thank you for that question, Councillor Black. Not this year. I think when we go through and we do the operational plan for next year, there's an opportunity to put that as a higher priority, but as Council's well aware, the $47 million worth of additional infrastructure that needs to be delivered over the next 18 months, as well as our operational budget, sees the Council managing significant grant investments in a very time-limited period, so that's been the focus for this next 12 months. Happy to have a look at those potential programs. I guess as the governance requirements of the organisation increase in terms of transparency and accountability, the flexibility around taking on housing and health issues becomes less, and we would look to our colleagues at state and federal government who have entire departments dedicated to those particular programs to take the lead in ensuring that ratepayers who are also taxpayers have access to those programs. So the short answer is, I guess, we don't have the capacity to, certainly not to initiate those kind of programs at the moment, but we look to partner with other government departments to deliver those much needed services.
Thank you, Jeanette.
May I just have one question on overall page 79, page 26 of the explanatory notes, slide 2.5.58, just in regards to, there's a comment there on WHS committee is to be re-established. Can you give us a bit of an overview of why we haven't actually been running a health and safety committee?
I guess I really can't talk to why it hasn't happened prior to my being appointed as the General Manager, but I can say that certainly, and I've got the HR Manager in the audience, it has been a high priority since I've been here. The position was filled, I think, within 3 months of my appointment. Certainly the Consultative Committee has been reborn. We have had elections, we will have further elections. We're working very hard to make sure that the committee's terms of reference are in line with the relevant acts. So certainly as your GM, it's a very high priority across the organisation for me.
Thank you.
No further questions? Okay, well, we have a recommendation here to receive and note the combined delivery program and operational plan progress report as at the 30th of September 2020 contained in Annexure A. We haven't had a mover for that. Do I have a mover for that to be done? Councillor Webster, sorry. Sorry.
Councillor Cudmore. Sorry.
Sorry. Councillor Cudmore, you wanted to speak?
No, it's just,
No, move it, shake it.
He's moved it. So Councillor Cudmore's moved it. A seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded Councillor Webster. Before I do, well, we've already spoken on it anyway, so is there no other speakers wish to speak for or against? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. 7.7. 7.7, DA 39/2020, erection of a shed 15 metres by 12 metres, 23 Dewhurst Street, Werris Creek, New South Wales 2341. The recommendation from Council is to grant consent subject to conditions as detailed in Schedule 1, Conditions of Development Consent DA 39/2020, Development Application 39/2020 be determined pursuant to Section 416 of the Environmental and Planning Assessment Act 1979. Moved, Councillor Black. Seconded, Councillor Webster. Before I put the motion, anyone wish to speak for or against it? Councillor Moles.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just see there was a letter came in regards to the advertisement of this through the public forum, and I'm just wondering if anybody's gotten back to that person in regards to their concerns, because I do know this is currently an ongoing issue within Werris Creek, runoff from sheds and houses. So just wondered if the proponents of the letter had been responded to. Thank you.
Through the General Manager, thanks to Councillor Moles, the assessing officer has been in contact with the submitter and given additional information which they are now satisfied with, as I understand, and the issues surrounding the water have been satisfactorily resolved as a condition of development consent.
Thank you, Ms Osmond.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.8, Environmental and Economic Development Services Works, September 2020. The recommendation is that Council receive and note the Environmental and Economic Development Service Works, September 2020. Move Councillor Black. Seconded Councillor Wilson. Before I put the motion, if there's anyone wish to speak for or against?
Mr. Mayor, just a question more than for or against. Just it's only just come to me that some of our council-owned properties and DAs for council projects are approved by delegation. Maybe that's our policy anyway. But I was just wondering whether some of those projects should actually come to council. But I'd be guided by what our policy is on it.
We'll take that notice on motion.
Thank
Question on notice.
Thank you.
Could you make a note that that's a question for Councillor Lodsley? Lodsley, sorry. Glasses.
And so,
Councillor Webster. Where was I up there now?
We are up to
Well,
7.8,
yeah. So, was there any other speakers for or against? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried.
Yes.
Item 7.9, the implementation of the recreation strategy. The recommendation is that council receive and note the report. Do I have a mover for that? Move Councillor Black, seconded Councillor Webster. Before I put the motion, is there anyone wish to speak for or against?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Only to just reiterate that the conversations that were had prior to our formal council meeting, that the due date on some of these may need to be changed for completion. Thank you.
Noted, councillor.
Mr Mayor, I just have a question too on, and maybe one of the directors through the GM could answer. Just, there's been, these things have been delayed for so long, I'm just a little bit confused on the Crindle Sporting Precinct, the 550,000. Could one of the directors actually explain what that's actually going, where that's going towards besides the 2 cricket pitches?
I'll just have to take it on notice. At Webster, I'm not actually 100% sure on what the split of that funding is here at the moment.
Thanks, thank you. Mr Mayor, just one other question on the next one down, multi-purpose courts. I note 415,000 for the netball. Could we, I'm not sure it's a policy again, but could we also not have the Basketball Association who gained a grant or a donation of 167,000 be included in these reports, just so they get some recognition for the work that they put in?
Thank you, Councillor Webster. Happy to provide the recognition that this is really reporting back to council on the funds that we've received and how we're progressing with the expenditure. So happy to acknowledge their contribution, but I think the main thrust of this report was to provide council with an update on how we were going with the expenditure that we've received.
Yeah, thanks, GM. We do have that money. That money's actually in trust with council, so we have received it.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about the money that the Basketball Association had received. Are you saying that they've now paid that money to us?
It's always been here.
Oh, so you knew the answer. Okay.
Any other questions for or against? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.10, Engineering Directorate Report, October 2020. I have a mover for that. Councillor Webster, seconder. Councillor Logsy. Did you wish to speak to that, Councillor Cudmore?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, before I put the motion, is there anyone else wish to speak for or against? Councillor Webster?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just a couple through the GM to Nathan, I think. Just regarding the Welsh Creek Economic Precinct, I just note your report. Is there a time frame at all in there regarding the restart, the documentation from Restart and ARTC? It's just ongoing, is it, or have you got a time frame in there?
That's really general. So it is somewhat ongoing, so we have provided the documentation back to New South Wales for them to return the signed deed, so that is on their timeline. I would expect in the next few weeks. With regards to ARTC, I have received some feedback, but more needs to be done through the detailed design phase. That will be starting in the next month or two.
Just one more question, Mr Mayor, if I possibly could. Just on the asset management, we've applied for 2 grants grants for fixing country bridges, Burton Street and the Bridge Road Bridge. Would the director sort of inform council, would that be 100% funded by the government, or would there be part funding by the council?
Through the General Manager, the grants I put in for were not 100% funded by the government, so there was the option to do that. However, co-contribution is always well received, so I propose to utilise some of our roads to recovery money in the next financial year should we be successful in that. So it's nominally $125,000 per bridge from our $1.3 million allocation for roads to recovery.
Mr Mayor, if I could just make a further comment, the Burton Street Bridge is right beside our business and I've lived there for a long time. It is in a high hydraulic area, as Nathan would know, and the residents, there's only 12 residents in that area and they get evacuated in a high flood level. So I'm not sure why we want to be spending a lot of money on a bridge. It's not going to get used during flood time.
So,
Thanks for your comments, Councillor Webster.
any other speakers for or against? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. 7.1. 7.11. Item 7.11, water supply status. The recommendation that council receive and note the water supply status report. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Mull, seconded Councillor Watson. Before I put the motion, does anyone wish to speak to it?